What's going on, guys? Here we are, episode 5. So as I said last week on the comments of the video or the caption of the video, I said that I was going to release the name of this podcast. I've had the name in my mind ever since I started making the videos. When I thought of the original idea of making a podcast, I didn't really know what I was going to name it. I thought about for a long time. I had a couple different ones picked out, but nothing really stuck. But I went to an event a couple weeks ago. It was actually a men's retreat, and a guy told me something there, and when he told me this, I knew that was going to be the name of this podcast because it resonates so well with today's world. So without further ado, the name of the podcast is Monday's Coming. Now, I was at this event. I was talking with this guy who's super inspirational, very nice guy, and he just was talking to me, and we hit it off. He was an older gentleman. We got to talking about life and life experiences and stuff, how we shared our faith and things of that nature. And before we left that men's retreat, he looked at me and he said, "Man, I want to tell you something." And I said, "Yeah, man, go ahead." And he said, "Monday's coming." Now, I thought about it and I was like, you know what? That's a great point. Because oftentimes in life, we go through life, we may go to church on Sunday or Wednesday nights, or, we watch a video, we get inspired for Christ, and then we all felt it before we get fired up. We're ready to go, our spirit's stirred up, but Monday comes. Sometimes it actually is on Monday when we go back to work from getting stirred up at church. And oftentimes I can reflect back on times where the Sunday service would be so good and my spirit would be stirred up, and I wouldn't want Monday to get here because it was like I knew it was going to leave me because I wasn't arming myself. Sometimes it may not be Monday. Sometimes you may be fired up until you get to Thursday or Friday or Saturday, and then Saturday comes and you lose it. Figuratively or literally, Monday is coming, and it's so important that we are ready for that, because that when that time comes, when we lose that fire in us or we lose that passion in us to go and share, the devil's going to meet us on that day and he's going to attack us. So that brings me into what this week's videos are going to be about. Now, this week's going to be a totally different layout. I'm not going to put all of the scripture into one video. This first video of this week will be the longest one. It should not be even anywhere close to what was last week. So this week's videos, I'm going to go over the armor of God, Ephesians chapter 6, verses 13 through 17. It talks about all the pieces of the armor of God, and there happens to be 6 pieces. In this video, I'm going to be going over verse 13 and the first half of verse 14. And I'm going to be reading out of the King James Version this week. So here we go. Ephesians chapter 6 verse 13 says, "Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all, to stand." Verse 14 says, "Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth." I'll stop there for this first video. A little bit of backstory here. The Apostle Paul is writing to the Ephesians here. And the reason he's writing about this armor of God is because he's telling the Ephesians that they must armor up every day because the enemy is going to attack us. And we have to suit up in the full armor of God every single day. When we fully suit up in the armor of God, if we put on a couple pieces and we leave a couple pieces off, then the devil's going to attack those weak spots that we have. As Paul's writing to these Ephesians, we need to be mindful that this not only applies to the Ephesians in the time that this letter was written, but it applies to us, because every day we should put on the full armor of God. And throughout this week, we're going to talk about what the full armor of God is. But today we're just going to focus on where it says in verse 14, "Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth." So another way to say that is have your loin girded with the truth. In history, the Romans would have a leather belt that they would put around their waist. And that leather belt is what would hold many of the pieces of the armor on. And that's why Paul says here, have your loins girded with the truth, meaning put the belt on of truth, because truth is the foundational piece here, guys. If all of this Bible was not true, all of this would be meaningless. But we know that it's true because we read it and we study it, and we can see the eyewitness accounts, and we can see what the people went through that believed in God, the torture that they went through because they weren't backing down. This Bible is the truth. And we see that the word is truth here in John chapter 17 verse 17. It's Jesus talking in this passage, and Jesus says, "Sanctify them through thy truth, thy word is truth." What he's saying is this Bible right here is the truth. And sanctify in that verse means set them apart. What Jesus is saying is set them apart, set yourselves apart through the truth. And the truth that he's talking about is the word. Put the belt of truth on this week. That's step number 1 in putting on the full armor of God, is throwing the belt on. It's going to be the foundational piece for the rest of your armor. Put the truth on. If we didn't believe it was true, if I didn't believe it was true, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of this camera talking to you right now. Put the belt of truth on and get ready, because the enemy's coming. Come back tomorrow for the next video on the next piece of the armor. Thank you.